The science of Kemet. The religious concepts of ancient Egypt were structured on scientifically verified electromagnetic theory, not unsubstantiated traditional beliefs, as ours are today. Separation of science and religion is a modern phenomenon where clashes between cultures in a shrinking world force compromises with the perception of truth. Most of us are unprepared to cope with the idea of a superior African science. Years of slavery and colonial domination have damaged our belief in the ability of our race to have accomplished these feats of mental genius. In spite of the pyramids and other colossal monuments, which are a testimony to our greatness, most of us are still in disbelief. Electromagnetic religion in Kemet can be seen to have played a role in the evolution of monotheism during the reign of Amenhotep IV in the 18th dynastic period. The reason for the conflict between the polytheistic doctrine of the past and the singular universal god Aten may have been the result of the discovery of a new source of electromagnetic radiation called cosmic background radiation. In 1964, experimenters at Princeton University studying possibility of leftover radiation from the Big Bang discovered the universal microwave radiation hypothesized by Akhenaten 3,500 years before. The Aten was represented by a disk with many rays ending in hands, holding the Ankh, symbol of life. Because this source of radiation was universal, it was difficult to depict. Therefore, the instrument used to detect its microwave emissions was used. The disk of Aten was an ancient solar device used to focus sunlight to a point or beam of extreme intensity. These large domed discs were made of highly polished metal. The word Aten means mirror, to concentrate the heat of the sun on a focal point for a variety of uses, which include the splitting of large stone blocks. A stone block was exposed to a narrow beam and, when heated, cold water was poured, causing the stone to split in precise dimension lines. With the rise of the Amenites, the technology concentrate other invisible electromagnetic wave obsessed with the building of larger and more requiring massive quantities of gold and silver shrines of the ancient gods, which ruined the national economy and created enemies throughout Egypt. The discs were dismantled during the reign of Tutankhamun to fund the restoration of the ruined temples of the ancient gods. This may be difficult to accept if you are unfamiliar with the two-dimensional conventions of Egyptian art, as opposed to the modern three-dimensional representations. Series A and B. Invisible Series B was discovered, quotation marks, in 1970. She is composed of super-dense matter created by an encounter with a black hole. The Aten was rejected as the universal source of all life because the faintness of the emissions suggested weakness in comparison to the more powerful gods of the past. Horn antenna, wings of Isis, Akhenaten's microwave Ankh device. The disk of Aten concentrated the microwave radiation into the horn antenna, exciting the wings of Isis, the resonant cavity, into oscillation. The natural frequency of her wings and the incoming microwaves are mixed, heterodyned, and the lower difference frequency which resulted from the mixing is detected by the loop. An explanation of the loop's function in this FM discriminator requires an excessive use of technical jargon, which would only detract from the spiritual essence of this divinely inspired device. This radio telescope could detect radiation from stars and other stellar activities in the cosmos. Akhenaten was dismissed as a heretic and not a favorite among European Egyptologists because his distinctly African appearance. But he was undoubtedly one of the greatest astronomer-scientists in human history, for he not only discovered the remnants of the original spark, the Aten, the Big Bang, from which all life originated, but he founded the first religion based on the oneness of God. Higher on the electromagnetic frequency scale, above microwaves, are the invisible infrared rays, also known as heat. And by exploring infrared, we come to the real reason the pyramids were built. The word pyramid means fire, pyre, fire, heat, and middle, not the familiar flames, but the Ankh, the living fire, a special fire whose flames were life-giving. These rays were concentrated or focused on the pyramid in the sacred chamber under its base. Let me reread that, please. The word pyramid means fire within, pyr, fire, and heat, and pyramid, middle, not the familiar flames, but the Ankh, living fire, a special fire whose flames were life-giving. These rays were concentrated or focused by the pyramid into the sacred chamber under its base. The pyramid was simply a lens which focused a specific frequency of infrared waves on the sacred chamber. In order to understand this fully, let us explore the question of living fire. A byproduct of both life and combustion is carbon dioxide. If living fire is to exist, carbon dioxide must be eliminated or exhaled and fresh oxygen supplied for further combustion of fuel, organic, fossil, or sugar. A flame in an enclosed area would die from the lack of oxygen, which would have been consumed and converted into carbon dioxide. If carbon dioxide could somehow be converted to its constituents, carbon and oxygen, the oxygen could be reused to further continue combustion and produce a living fire. Carbon dioxide molecules can be split into carbon and oxygen by absorbing energy at specific resonant frequencies. The molecule vibrates in response to the energy absorbed, and if there is sufficient concentration of these photons, the molecule splits and oxygen is liberated. Every object with a temperature above 0 degrees Kelvin, K, emits infrared by what is known as blackbody radiation. The frequency and intensity of the radiation is related to the temperature of the object. At the pyramid's natural temperature of 300 K, there is sufficient infrared at the proper frequency which the shape of the pyramid can concentrate on the sacred chamber to affect dissociation of carbon dioxide. If the incorrect frequency is used, the molecule could split into poisonous carbon monoxide. The sacred chamber was a special life-promoting environment where the dead were revived and incredible surgical procedures could be carried out safely. This technology is specific to Africans, simply because white skin is too reflective and would not allow enough energy to be absorbed. The first pyramid was built by Imhotep, the African multi-genius whom the Greeks call Asclepius, their god of medicine. Asclepius. Legend has it that Asclepius, god of healing and son of Apollo, was delivered by cesarean section performed on his dead mother, Coronis, by Thoth, Hermes, and taught the art of medicine. Another version states that he was abandoned on a mountain and suckled by goats. The shepherd who discovered him was frightened when he observed a mysterious aura of glistening corona discharges emanating from the child's skin. His wisdom and skill in the healing arts were unsurpassed, for Asclepius discovered the secret of the Gorgon's blood, which was both a medicine and a deadly poison. With this knowledge, he developed a method of bringing the dead back to life. After reviving many people, he himself was killed with a lightning bolt from Zeus, for fear that he might reveal the secret which would give immortality to human beings. Apollo, angered by the murder, responded by killing the thunder-making Cyclops of Zeus. Asclepius was associated with serpents, and his emblem of twin-winged snakes is still used as the insignia of the medical profession. Focused infrared rays were also used to dehydrate the bodies of the dead. This sophisticated form of mummification, usually reserved for nobility, produced the most lifelike mummies because of the precision of the dehydration process. However, the ultimate use of infrared rays involved the semiconductor nature of melanin, which requires an infusion of energy to bridge the gap between its levels of conduction. With this constant source of power, the Ka of the pharaoh would remain an electrically active antenna, supporting his heavenly reflection in divine splendor.